Lawmakers in Indonesia have given the green light for a new criminal code. Parliament has approved sweeping changes, including a ban on sex outside marriage and measures to curb dissent. Now, the controversial law has been years in the making, and it's sparking concerns that civil liberties will soon take a back seat in the world's third largest democracy.
Menjadi undang-undang.
The hammer comes down and text becomes law. It heralds a major overhaul for Indonesia's criminal code. The raft of controversial changes has been endorsed by all 9 parties. It's been touted by lawmakers as a step forward for the Muslim-majority nation as it leaves its colonial past behind.
Perdebatan panjang ini kami mohon agar kita seluruh masyarakat kami telah berupaya untuk mengakomodasi sebaik-baik mungkin apa menjadi perdebatan dan isu-isu penting yang menjadi perbedaan pendapat kita. Namun tentunya lah pada saatnya kita harus mengambil keputusan historis terhadap rancangan undang-undang KUHP ini untuk meninggalkan warisan hukum pidana kolonial Belanda.
Among the contentious articles, a ban on extramarital sex, which carries a jail term of up to 1 year, and cohabitation between unmarried couples. It will apply not just to Indonesians, but foreigners as well. Previously, the country banned adultery, but not premarital sex. The new code also prohibits insulting the president and the airing of views that run counter to state ideology. The staging of protests without official notice also made illegal. Measures that critics say are a death knell for freedom of speech. Attempts were made by the government to pass an earlier version of the revised criminal code in 2019, but its passage was ultimately halted by nationwide protests. The public response to this new code has been muted so far, with only minor protests held in the capital these last 2 days. Lawmakers insist several provisions have been watered down. The new code, which still needs to be approved by President Joko Widodo, is set to come into force in 3 years' time.
For more, Chani Vatvani joins us live now from Jakarta. Chani, lawmakers tried to pass an earlier version of this bill back in 2019, and back then violent protests broke out across the country because of it. Why is there more of a muted reaction this time around when the bill, it looks pretty much the same as when it was originally introduced?
Well, we did see protests this time as well. However, they were noticeably on a smaller scale compared to what we saw in 2019. Now, when the bill was postponed in 2019, President Joko Widodo had said that more time was needed to hear revisions. This time around, legislators appear to have toned down or watered down some of the articles following those nationwide protests in 2019. Now, the articles in the code on sex outside of marriage and cohabitation state that such complaints can only be reported by close relatives such as a spouse, a parent or child.
Chani, this move is going to have an impact, more likely than not. I mean, not just on Joko Widodo's domestic standing, perhaps even the country's global reputation as well.
Well, it's important to note that these revisions have been a long time coming. It's been 104 years since the Dutch Criminal Code in Indonesia in 1918, and authorities have been trying to revise this at several points throughout the years. Now, according to Indonesia's law minister, the draft law which was made during the colonial period is no longer relevant to the present. Now, how much of an impact these rules have domestically and internationally will remain to be seen. As you mentioned, they will certainly have an impact, but how much of it yet remains to be seen. Now, they are certainly already causing concern among business groups and civilians alike, raising worries, especially with regards to the tourism industry in Indonesia's top tourist destination, Bali, for example. We have the Balinese civil society community who has voiced concern about the new criminal code in that it has the potential to open up opportunities for violations of matters that are considered highly personal. And this could also hamper their efforts to tackle HIV. Now, we have business groups warning that it could also harm or put a damper on Indonesia's image as a tourism and investment destination. Now, there are also fears among human rights activists that these rules could have a major impact on the LGBTQ plus community in the country where same-sex marriage is not allowed. Now, the controversial new laws, of course, include also a ban on insulting the president or state institutions and expressing views counter to state ideology. Now, the president only, however, can file a complaint about being insulted, but such a crime will carry a 3-year jail sentence. The new laws also including more lenient sentences for those charged with corruption, and this also raising a lot of concerns within civilian groups. And there are also articles on customary law, blasphemy, and protesting without notification. Remember, however, that the mechanism and details of all of these articles under the new law is still being discussed and will still need to be ironed out. And this new regulation will take effect after a maximum period of 3 years.
Chandni, thank you for that update. Chandni Vatbani there in Jakarta.